What is going on, y'all? Welcome back to the Locks DFS NHL Breakdown. I'm your host, Narang, and I'll be breaking down this three-game main slate on DraftKings and FanDuel for Wednesday, March 13th. Before I get into that, though, if you guys would go ahead and leave a like and comment on this video, not only would it mean a lot to me, but you'd be entered in winning our free season pass giveaway. As always, we run the same giveaway every single week where we like to give back to our most active viewers and watchers. So whoever's leaving positive comments, leaving likes, we take note, and every Monday we pick a winner to get a free season pass. So go ahead and do that to be ending in that giveaway. And with that being said, let's just get into this slate because as usual, when it's a smaller slate, I like to talk about each game individually. But these games are so bad defenses, a lot of great offenses that these could be it could take me like 5-6 minutes to get through each game. So I'm gonna stick to how we usually do it by breaking down a few of my favorite plays at each position, at each price point. And let's just start at the top at center how we usually do. So a familiar face at the top here, 7.8K Connor McDavid. Gonna be my top high price center of the slate, although it is very close between him and the two Toronto guys, but we'll get into them in a little bit. The reason McDavid is my top player on the slate is, like I mentioned in last video, he's been skating with Leon Draisaitl at 5v5 as opposed to Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Big boost for their Corsi 4 percentage. They're just a much more dominant line when Leon Draisaitl skating with them as opposed to that two center lineup with McDavid and Hopkins. I really like Hopkins on that second line where he can still sort of give Edmonton some depth because they really don't have much. So McDavid, again, matchup versus a New Jersey team that's just been awful defensively. They limit high danger chances. That's really just because they muck up the game by making it as slow and dirty as possible. But that doesn't even work. As you saw just yesterday, they gave up 9 goals to Calgary, including a 6-point game to Johnny Gaudreau, which carried a lot of members to cash for what it's worth. But we could see that. We could see a repeat of that, and I think that happens from Edmonton 1, just because Edmonton's such a one-line team that if they do score 4 or 5 goals, there's a good chance 60 to 80% of those goals are coming from Edmonton 1. So a lot of exposure to McDavid, a lot of exposure to Draisaitl is great on this slate. But the reason it's tough is because of these Toronto guys. So Toronto going up against the guys that we pick on every single day. A Chicago Blackhawks team that ranks, I believe it's last. Okay, I guess they've upgraded to third from the bottom in high danger chances against per 60 over the last 10 games. And in addition to that, they boast the league's second worst penalty kill. Their worst penalty kill in the league. So just an awesome spot for this Toronto team at 5v5 and on the power play. And as you see, they're projected for 4.3 goals, which is the highest on the slate. And if I had to choose between these two guys, I'm usually always picking Tavares. In this case, you're getting a $200 discount going to Austin Matthews. And I'm actually going to pick Austin Matthews. I can talk a little bit about it further when we get into winger, but it's primarily because Kasperi Kapanen is out, so you can stack Austin Matthews with his 2 line mates for incredibly cheap as opposed to John Tavares with Mitch Marner. Just makes it much more easy to build a lineup when you can get that correlation. So just to talk about Austin Matthews, I Corsi 4 per 60 around 20. John Tavares, I Corsi 4 per 60 right around 18.3. Both those guys leading the team right ahead of Nazem Kadri, who at 4.3K is also an awesome play to get you more exposure to Toronto and that power play 1. But John Tavares, as I talk about in every video, leading almost the entire NHL in individual high danger chances 4 per 60 at just under 7.5, which is awesome. But Austin Matthews and Nazem Kadri both at a little over 5, which is great in their own right. So you can't go wrong with as much Toronto as possible on this slate. And yeah, I think that should probably do it for center. I spent 4 minutes talking about 3 centers. So moving on to winger, the top high price guy I like. It's close between Patrick Kane and Leon Draisaitl. Obviously, Patrick Kane's a guy that's going to skate 26 minutes and shoot the puck in the net's direction at least 12 times. But Leon Draisaitl, skating on the wing with Connor McDavid is just way too hard to pass up. You saw what he did last game, skating 26 minutes, scoring that OT winner as well as 2 assists in regulation. Really helped me on that slate. So I love him as my favorite high price guy. But the real guys you want to talk about on this slate are down here. So one guy I want to mention is Vladimir Nemestikov. For the Rangers. The Vancouver Canucks are 7th worst in the league in high danger chances against per 60 over the last 10 games. And the New York Rangers actually are generating their fair amount of high danger chances for, ranking 4th in the league in high danger chances for per 60 over the last 10 games. And Vladimir Nemestikov got the pretty cushy line bump next to Mika Zibanejad on that first line, as well as correlating on the first unit power play with Zibanejad as well. Nemestikov, not a guy that shoots the puck too much, but for a 3.8K, you're not really asking for too much. He just gives you great exposure to a game that I probably like to hit the over between Vancouver and New York. And then the next cheap guy I like is William Nylander. So this is kind of what I was alluding to with Toronto and choosing Austin Matthews over John Tavares. Kasperi Kapanen remains out for Toronto, so that gives William Nylander the bump to this second line, skating with Austin Matthews and Andreas Johnson. Obviously a bump from his third line role. For those of you who didn't play NHL DFS, Nylander actually was Austin Matthews' primary winger for a couple years until this year, really, where he started the season off slow and got dropped to the third line. Andreas Johnson and Kapanen have played well, so they remained Austin Matthews wingers. But when Nylander was skating on his wing, he was consistently priced in the 6K, in the high 5K range. So getting him at 3.5K is a total steal. He's probably got to have to be locked in your DK lineups just because he's the best value player on the slate. And that should do it for winger. And moving on to defense. Defense a little bit tougher today. There's not a lot of great value. There's a couple plays I'll get into, but it's mainly a high price range. I'm mainly looking at the high price range with Morgan Rielly leading the way. Obviously, defenseman versus Chicago has been something that we've wanted to target this entire season. Morgan Rielly with the iCorsi 4 per 60 around 15. That leads every defenseman on the slate. So obviously, that's easy to say he's one of the most offensive-minded defensemen on the slate. Makes for a great correlation play with any other Toronto players that you have, because you're probably going to skate with most of them. And then the other guy I like a lot is Alexander Edler, second highest price defenseman. Just a super, super high floor in this matchup. This could be a real pace-up spot for him versus the Rangers. We could see him block like his standard 4 or 5 shots. As you guys see, he gives you such a high floor. I mean, last 5 games, he's blocked 5, 5, 5, 4, and 2 shots. So that's instantly a 2.5 point floor in 3 of those games. So that's why you play Alexander Edler. And then on top of that, he skates 29 minutes and shoots the puck a lot. So love these high price guys. But if you do want to go cheap, a name that I always go back to that I like again is Troy Stecher at 2.8K. Ben Hutton remained out up through last game. It looks like he's going to be out for this game, although we don't have any confirmation just yet. But Troy Stecher, 2.8K, and he's going to skate 24 minutes minimum if Ben Hutton is out. That's just way too good a value to pass up for 2.8K. He also gets power play 2-time as well, and he's a guy that does shoot the puck, is a fantasy-friendly defenseman, is a guy you would want exposure to if he was skating those minutes. So I like him at this price as well. Moving on to goalie, there's 3 real favorites on this slate. You got Frederik Andersen, Jacob Markstrom, and whoever starts for Edmonton is looking like it's going to be Mikko Koskinen, but nothing's confirmed yet. You could play either one of them. They're all fairly safe, but I mean, Edmonton gives up its fair share of goals, so that hurts Koskinen. Chicago's an offensive juggernaut at times, and Toronto can give up its fair share of goals, so that makes them Frederik Andersen a little nervous. So every goalie has a catch to him. So all I can tell you is what I usually tell you, just to correlate your goalie with your skaters, so that if your skaters do well, hopefully your goalie gets the win as well, which is super important on this 3-game slate. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for checking out this video. As always, please do leave a like and comment to be entered into that giveaway that we run every week. I hope you guys win a ton of money tonight. Hit me up on Twitter at ReallyAddy if you have any other questions about NHL or anything else. And with that all being said, guys, take it easy, and I will see you tomorrow. Peace.